What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bilbrons and Dragons. I'm your host, Bilbron DaoLockStone. So today we're having another battle report for my Molebron DaoLockStone build, which I've been playing on a Westmarch server called the Forged Concordance, and it is super awesome. It's the biggest one out there, it's very well run, full of great players and great DMs, so I highly recommend it. All of the relevant information will be in the video description below. Check it out, and we can adventure together. So today's adventure was called For a Noble Cause, run by DM Pepper, who did a fantastic job, as I knew he would. I've played at Pepper's table before, and so I was very excited for this mission because I knew that he would have some great battles for us. And I've been dying for some great battles. Literally 4 out of my last 5 missions have been non-combat missions. I've been a Skyrider Grand Prix champion twice. I did this matchmaking thing for Valentine's Day, and I went through a really horror-filled adventure that was just too nasty to make a video about, but it was non-combat and it featured tons of maiming. Pretty much everyone on the team got maimed. A guy lost an arm, another guy lost a leg, another guy got his beautiful white dragonborn scales marred with red for fire, and I personally got slashed across the face with just a nasty ass claw attack. So have a pretty ugly scar at the moment. I could get rid of it through regeneration. I can afford it, but I decided to keep it for a little bit, see if that improves my I guess interactions, makes me look tough, and the girl is always like a sexy scar, right? That's the theory. We'll see. I can always get it regenerated if not, but I'm sporting the scar for now. But yeah, I was ready for some combat. And so the story begins like it always does. Bilbron flying in from Viscala, rolling up to the job board and looking for a gig. And he got a mission for Reynaldo Villas the Eighth, who is a noble in nearby Halcyon whose daughter got kidnapped by a cult, and he wanted us to get her back. Awesome. Sounds like a good gig. I started to assemble a team, and finally I added 4 adventurers. There was Celeste, who is a half-elf blade singer with a bit of swashbuckler in there. I added Umambu, who I've adventured with before. He's an Ancestral Guardians barbarian / battle master who's a ranged and net specialist, which is unusual and awesome because that net really saved my butt in our previous adventure, and it was just very effective. So happy to add Umambu to the team. We also added Scandal, who is a shadow monk with a little bit of fighter in there. And we added Nock, who I'd never adventured with before. I had adventured with all of these others before. Nock was a punch-up. He was a ranger, a swarms ranger, with peace cleric. So, and about an even mix. So pretty interesting. Plus he's in my Patreon, so I was looking forward to adventuring with him for the first time. So that was the team. We had to fly or sail over to Halcyon, but I flew us over in my sanctuary vessel, or technically Fargar did the flying while I did my normal put my feet up on the coffee table while drinking wine and playing games thing. But we all had a pretty cushy ride over to Halcyon, which is a bustling city off to the west, you see on the map. And we met with Reynaldo, who is just such a jerk. So apparently this Cult of Orcus kidnapped his daughter and then sent him a ransom note. And he was all like, nah fam, I think I'm gonna just take that ransom money and give it to the Forged Concordance to kill you, to kill all of you. And I don't even care if my daughter dies, because she's kind of a troublemaker. And Bilbron, as an evil dude, was like, oh, respect, man. Nobody's going to be messing with you, trying to take your family ransom after this. But it was pretty evil. The player was all like, ew, that's hardcore. But, hey, a job's a job. His gold spends as well as anybody else's. So we were off to try and rescue this girl. Now, we did, of course, do some due diligence and try and determine whether she was actually kidnapped. I mean, I've definitely encountered scenarios before where it's all a ruse and the daughter runs away of her own free will and joins a cult, right? Cults are known for being pretty persuasive in their, recruiting. So we did determine that she did seem to be taken against her will. She was all tied up. And so we ventured into the nearby forest where we knew that this guild was, or that this cult was operating from. And we encountered some druids. We made friends with the druids, and they agreed to guide us to the complex of caves where the cult had been holding up, because they knew exactly where the entrance was. They just didn't want to approach it themselves, but they were happy to help us out so that we could clear out this problem for them. And so we were guided by a sparrow right to the front entrance. And we used Pass Without Trace. Nock was very helpful in providing Pass Without Trace that allowed us to sneak up on it. And honestly, Pass Without Trace was quite a star here in the first two battles especially. Because as we came up, there was an imposing looking cave entrance, very reminiscent of Orcus, guarded by a couple of large demons. And so we snuck up on them and we engaged the demons, expecting a tough fight from these two things. And it turns out they were weak sisters and went down pretty quickly. But every single one of those gargoyle statues that you see came to life as a sort of flying demon, and they attacked. And so this was very interesting. And this is something that I like about Pepper's games, is that he'll often throw these sorts of encounters at you where the monsters themselves are not overly imposing, but there's just so many of them, right? It would only take like 2 or 3 hits to kill one of these things, sometimes one if it was hard enough. But there was just so many, you couldn't kill them all right away. And then they swarmed on Scandal and Celeste, and were just kept, breathing fire down on them and doing a little bit of damage each time, but it just started to add up. Celeste doesn't really have that many hit points anyway, being mostly a blade singer. And so we managed to win that battle, but it was harder than I expected, and we took more damage than I expected, and we didn't really have a healer along, so I started to get a little bit concerned about, just resources and our hit points whittling away, and nothing I could do about it, but something that was on the, in the back of my mind as we went forward. So we killed all of these things, and then we entered into the cave complex, and it wasn't long before we entered into a pretty large chamber, and we again got swarmed by these spellcaster dudes and these, robed shadowish dudes. And again, this was kind of a battle of attrition. They weren't that tough, didn't take much to kill them, but there were so many. I mean, I literally have never seen such a big initiative bar. There was like 20 of them or something crazy, just like tons. And they could cast Burning Hands. And so this seemed to be kind of the theme of the adventure, getting whittled down by, repeated applications of tiny blasts. But again, and especially in this battle, Pass Without Trace came in clutch, because we got a surprise round in the first battle, we got a surprise round in this battle, and that just helped clearing out a lot of these creatures, right? By the time they got an action, we'd managed to kill like 6 or 7 of them, and the remaining ones were pretty far away, right? The ones we killed were in the immediate vicinity as we entered into the chamber, and so they weren't able to swarm us because they had to move, and they did do a little bit of damage, but we managed to win that battle. Again, the enemies were not that tough. It's just there were so many of them that they were kind of whittling away at our resources, hit points and spell slots and such. So we defeated them. We continued into the complex, and we came into a much smaller chamber where there were a couple of nightmares that were mounted by some kind of bad guys. And this battle went really easy. Again, we had Pass Without Trace, got a surprise round. This time Scandal provided it as a shadow monk. And we blasted these guys into smithereens pretty quickly. Bilbron knocked them off of their mounts, and then we just, cleaned up. So that was our third battle, though, and we decided to take a short rest. And it turns out there was this really ominous, oppressive aura in the place, and we had to make saves. And if you failed your save, our hit point maximum went down by like 17. So not only were we being whittled down by these mobs of, relatively unimposing creatures that had ranged or AoE attacks, we couldn't really short rest because it was, hurting us. So I noticed what was going on. I was trying to conserve my resources and such going forward. And we found a trap door, and we opened the door, and it immediately it was just like a 5-foot passage, but then it opened up into a massive cavern that was like 50 feet high, right? So, from the ground to 50 feet, and then it was like 5 feet, and then we were up here with the trap door. So we opened the trap door. I sent Fargar down in to scout it out, and he didn't see anything, but he didn't recognize that there was something invisible hanging out in there. And so Bilbron was concerned that, oh my gosh, if we just go down this ladder in sequence with, invisible creatures in there ready to attack us, that is a bad setup. So we decided to all jump in with Featherfall, provided by Celeste. And everybody got a chance to do their hero landing. Bilbron flew in, of course, in a more dignified manner. But we landed, and then we couldn't find anything. We kind of noticed that there was something invisible, but it was such a huge chamber that we couldn't really pinpoint it. And then we went into the church that was there at the center of the room and looked around and didn't really find anything. But it did separate our forces, right? Some people went in to the church to investigate. Bilbron was kind of hanging out outside, trying to keep watch and make sure that nothing got the drop on us, because we did know that there was something down here. And it turned out to be a balhanov. And Bilbron recognized it instantly, because this is like the 4th time that I fought a balhanov, and they're tough customers. They can teleport you, and they do a ton of damage, and they grapple you. And this one seemed buffed a little bit, because it teleported Bilbron into its clutches and then immediately smashed him for 58 damage with its bite, which is pretty strong for a balhanov. And then it hit me a couple more times, and so I was hurting. And the balhanov was actually using the environment to its advantage. Again, big area, and there was this giant church in the middle of it, and most of the people were inside when I got attacked. So it was kind of maneuvering around, keeping the church between it and me and the rest of the guys. So, it was pretty well run balhanov there. But we managed to beat it, right? Even though I was in its clutches and it got a good attack sequence in on me, it didn't kill me. So I just dimension doored away from it. And then Scandal went up and engaged it with her eagle whistle. So flew right up to it and was bonking the crap out of it with, stunning strikes and such. And then everybody else managed to get out of the church, and, we dogpiled this balhanov and killed it. But that didn't seem to eliminate this oppressive aura. And we also knew that this was a cult of Orcus. And so even though we had killed a ton of cultists so far, just getting getting in and working our way to this point, we could tell there was still a bit more to go. So we searched, and we found another trapdoor, and it led literally to the exact same scenario. 5-foot little passage into a larger room that was 50 feet high, and it had a church in the middle. And it turns out this was the actual headquarters of the Cult of Orcus, and it was just occupied by their leaders. I guess they'd thrown all of their riffraff at us at the beginning. And so it was some kind of fiendish demon-y dude and some kind of hag, it looked like. Pardon. We managed to beat these guys pretty easily, I thought. They didn't have the invisibility that the balhanov had, and so we were able to kind of engage it in a more structured manner. And we managed to defeat these creatures. We found Ronaldo's daughter, Sophie, tied up within the church. And even better, there was a crystal sword that was hanging over her in some sort of James Bond-esque death trap. And I just completely protected her by sealing her with a wall of stone. And we managed to activate the trap, which didn't do anything against the wall of stone, and recover the crystal rapier, which is exciting because Bilbron ended up getting that. But we ended up, went back, we reported our mission success to Ronaldo. He was a jerk about it, but we got paid, and we went back to the headquarters to get our badges for a mission success. And it turns out Bilbron got the crystal rapier, and he was so excited because this thing has transformed my finances. I sold it for 11,000 gold, which is a lot of gold in this game. And it was so welcome because I hadn't won a consumable item in any games since I hit silver. And so that's when all of the good stuff starts coming out. And I'd only gotten consumables. And so I was limping along, not very rich. I had some gold, but I was buying all of these like little things, lapis lazuli spell gems and ever-smoking bottle and stuff like that to fill out my bag of tricks the way that I wanted. But I wasn't able to get like any of the really good stuff, the expensive stuff. And now I can, because I got that crystal rapier, I sold it, and now I feel almost rich. So very exciting stuff. I was very happy with the adventure, had a great time. It was so great to kill things again. So thanks so much to DM Pepper for providing me that experience. Thanks so much to the team for helping me get through it. And thank you so much for watching. This has been Bilbrons and Dragons. I'm your host, Bilbron DaoLockStone. See you next time.